The average dental practice in Australia pays somewhere between $200 and $500 a month for their website. Some pay more. Very few know what that money actually goes toward. And to be clear, that doesn't mean it's wasted. It might be completely reasonable. It might not be. The point is, you should know what's in the box before you decide if it's worth the price. So let's break it down. If your dental practice has a website, and it does, here's what's almost certainly running it. WordPress. It's the platform underneath. About 40% of websites on the internet run WordPress. It's not a bad choice. It's the default choice, which is a different thing, but it works. On top of WordPress, you've got a page builder theme. Divi, Elementor, Avada. One of those. That's what makes your site look the way it looks without someone writing code from scratch. Then you've got plugins, somewhere between 10 and 20 of them. One for your contact form, one for SEO, one for image compression, one for security, one for backups, one for your booking widget, one for caching so the site loads faster because all the other plugins made it slow. It keeps going. Then there's the infrastructure. Shared hosting. That's the server your site lives on. An SSL certificate, so the browser shows the little padlock. Maybe a CDN to serve images faster. A domain name. Here's what that typically adds up to each month. Hosting, $30 to $80. Maintenance and support, $100 to $200. Plugin licenses, $20 to $50. Domain and SSL server, $5 to $10. Total, roughly $150 to $350 a month. None of these individual costs are outrageous. The question is whether the total makes sense for what you're getting. And to answer that, you need to understand what the work actually involves. The biggest line item on most website invoices is maintenance or support. So what does that actually mean in practice? WordPress core puts out 4 or 5 updates per year. Your theme puts out updates. And your plugins, those 10 to 20 plugins, they push updates basically every week. Some of them multiple times a month. So someone needs to log in, apply those updates, and make sure nothing broke. And things do break. A plugin updates and it conflicts with another plugin, or with the theme, or with the version of PHP the server is running. Now your contact form doesn't work, or your booking widget vanishes, or the whole site throws an error. Fixing those compatibility issues is real work. It takes skill, and it takes time. The honest question is just about scale. If it's a quiet month and nothing breaks, the update cycle takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes. If something breaks badly, it could take a few hours. On average, across the year, it probably works out to an hour or two per month of actual hands-on time. Whether that's worth $150 or $200 a month is something you can decide for yourself. But you should at least know that's the scope of what's happening. Here's something most practice owners don't think about. WordPress powers 40% of the web. That's hundreds of millions of websites, which makes it the single biggest target for automated attacks on the internet. Bots are scanning WordPress sites constantly. Not because someone has it in for your dental practice. It's automated. They're looking for known vulnerabilities in plugins, in themes, in WordPress core. And because most dental websites are running 15 to 20 plugins, every single one of those is a potential entry point. Securi. They're one of the big website security firms. They report thousands of WordPress sites getting compromised every single day. Most of those sites had outdated plugins. So part of what your web person is doing every month is essentially patching a boat. They're keeping everything up to date so the known holes stay closed. But new holes appear regularly, because that's the nature of running a system with that many third-party components. This isn't a WordPress flaw exactly. It's just the reality of running a dynamic platform with a large plugin ecosystem. More moving parts means more things that can go wrong. Now let's talk about speed, because this is where it gets tangible. Google PageSpeed Insights is Google's own tool. It's free. Anyone can use it. Here's a pretty typical result for a dental website. 38 on mobile. Look at these diagnostics. Largest contentful paint. That's how long it takes for the main content to actually appear. 5.4 seconds. So when a patient taps your site on their phone, they're staring at a blank or half-loaded screen for over 5 seconds. Total blocking time. 800 milliseconds. That's how long the page is frozen and unresponsive while JavaScript from all those plugins executes. Your patient is at a bus stop. They've Googled dentist near me. They've tapped on your site, and 6 seconds later it still hasn't loaded. They hit back and tap the next result. That's not a hypothetical. Google's own data says 53% of mobile visitors leave a site that takes longer than 3 seconds. The frustrating part is, this isn't your fault. You're paying someone to manage this site. But the platform itself, WordPress with a heavy theme and 15 plus plugins, makes it very hard to get a fast mobile experience. Here's why this matters beyond user experience. Since 2021, Google has used something called Core Web Vitals as a ranking factor. That means page speed, visual stability, and interactivity directly affect where your site shows up in search results. A slow site ranks lower. Full stop. So if you're paying for SEO, and a lot of dental practices are, on top of their website costs, but your site scores 30-something on PageSpeed, those two investments are working against each other. You're paying someone to optimize your content for Google, while the platform your site runs on is telling Google your site provides a poor user experience. So there's another way to build websites that's been around for a while but hasn't really reached the dental industry yet. It's worth understanding because it changes the economics pretty fundamentally. Static site generators. Frameworks like Astro, Next.js, Hugo. There are several. What they do is build your entire website into plain HTML files ahead of time. So instead of a server assembling each page on the fly every time someone visits, which is what WordPress does, the pages are already built. They just get served directly. No database, no PHP, no plugins running on every page load. Just pre-built HTML, CSS, and images served from a CDN. The result is a site that loads in under a second, scores in the high 90s on PageSpeed, and because there's no database and no server-side code, there's essentially nothing to hack. The attack surface that exists with WordPress just isn't there. And the hosting, this is the part that surprises people. Platforms like Cloudflare Pages and Netlify host static sites for free. Not a trial, not a limited plan. Free for sites at this scale, because serving static files is cheap for them. So the hosting cost goes from $30 to $80 a month to zero. And the ongoing maintenance goes from patch and pray every month to basically nothing unless you want to change content. Now, I'd be leaving something out if I didn't mention the downside, because there is one. Static sites don't have a WordPress editor. There's no dashboard where you log in and change text on a page and hit publish. If you want to change something, someone with technical knowledge needs to make the change in code and redeploy the site. If you're a business that changes website content every week, WordPress makes a lot of sense. That's what it was built for. But here's the thing. How often does a dental practice actually update their website? Most practices, honestly, maybe twice a year. A new associate joins. You add a service. You update your holiday hours. So you're potentially paying $3,600 a year for a content editing interface that you use twice. That's not a rip-off. It's just a mismatch between the tool and the job. I'm not saying fire your web person. They might be doing good work. Some web agencies genuinely earn their monthly fee. They're updating content, monitoring uptime, handling technical issues, running backups, keeping things secure. That's valuable. What I am saying is, you should understand what you're paying for so you can evaluate whether it matches your needs. Here's a simple thing you can do. Ask your web person, what did you do to my site this month? Not in an accusatory way, just genuinely, what happened this month? If the answer is, we ran updates and everything was fine, and that's the answer most months, you should know that's about 20 to 30 minutes of work. If you want to evaluate where your website stands, here are 4 things to check. Takes about 5 minutes. 1. Go to pagespeed.web.dev and test your site on mobile. If you score below 50, your site is slow by Google standards. Below 30 and it's hurting your search ranking. 2. Think about when your website content last changed. Not a plugin update, actual content. If it's been more than 6 months, ask yourself what the monthly fee is really maintaining. 3. Ask your web person how many plugins are running. If it's over 20, that's a lot of moving parts. Each one is a potential performance hit and a potential security risk. 4. Multiply your monthly cost by 12. Look at that annual number. Then ask, is this the best use of that money for my practice's online presence? That's it. No big reveal. The dental website industry works the way it works. It's built on WordPress, it carries real overhead, and most of that overhead is invisible to the practice owner. Now it's a bit less invisible. We actually do build static websites for dental practices. Clone the design from WordPress, rebuild it on modern tech, faster site, no monthly hosting. If that's interesting, cool. If not, at least you know what questions to ask. And if you want to see how your site actually performs, we've got a free audit tool at aiadaptive.com.au/free audit. Thanks for watching.